Hello, today we're going to be talking about the physical symptoms of a blocked heart chakra. And so this video is for two sets of people, those who are perhaps starting on their journey to understand how energy works through our system and how we can manipulate energy to be able to create in the world, to improve our lives and to improve the lives of others. But also for those of you who are aromatherapists, I'll be talking about essential oils that can support the different symptoms as we go, and hopefully this will help you to maybe reverse engineer some of the things that are going on with your clients. So this is quite a long video because we will be talking about the physical effects, the emotional effects, the mental effects, but also not just on an interpersonal situation, but also communal aspects of the heart chakra too. And as we go, I will talk about different essential oils, and every now and then I'll stop and put a slide on so that you can screenshot it and get the safety and maximum dilutions for the essential oils that I'm talking about. So without further ado, let's start. So the first thing that I want to say is that none of the information on this video is intended as medical advice. As aromatherapists, we cannot diagnose, and neither can we claim to treat any situations. So if there are any physical manifestations here that you think need to be checked out by a doctor, please heed your internal voice and go and get medical advice. So the first thing to say is maybe you don't know what the chakras are, so let's start with that. The chakras are wheels of energy that open and close in a clockwise direction. They run up and down the spine, and we work classically with 7 chakras, but actually if you go back to the tantric traditions, there are many different versions of this and different energy pockets all around the body. But for these main ones, what we want is for these chakras to be in line with the spine, and also to be vitalizing the physical body with messages that come through from the emotional bodies. So the chakras go through the etheric bodies, the aura, so 7 layers, there's 7 different layers, so they come through the etheric bodies into and permeating through the physical body, out through the back, hopefully going through the spine, although they do move if you're not careful, hopefully going through the spine and coming out the back and out through the etheric bodies. And when you see them, you'll see that they kind of come out like cones, like that. And the different chakras tend to relate to different etheric bodies. So if we think about the 7 layers of the aura, going out from the beginning, we'll have the first etheric body is the physical body. So we'll obviously see things happening in the chakra close to the physical body. The second body is the body of will, the third is the mental body, and the fourth is the emotional body. So when we're working with the heart chakra, we will expect to see things playing out in the first etheric body, in the physical body, but also in the fourth etheric body, and also 5th, 6th and 7th, which are more spiritual ones, and we'll get into on other videos. So what we're aiming for is for the chakra to be opening and closing regularly and effectively. Now, we'll often talk about blocked chakras, but we'll also talk about heart chakra opening. And the heart chakra opening is slightly different to what I'm talking about. On a day-to-day basis, we want it to be working almost like a magic portal that kind of opens and closes and opens and closes and opens and closes. Certainly, we can have balances or imbalances where the chakra will be blocked, or conversely the chakra might be completely wide open and not closing, and if you think about it, leaking enormous amounts of energy out into the world. So what we want to do is to balance this chakra so that on a day-to-day basis it's opening and closing and opening and closing. However, when we're also working with spiritual practice and we're looking to actually grow the energy of this center, we want to be able to go, it's open, and I want to open it even more, so that we're really projecting out that energy into the universe. But also then we want to be able to say, but we want to close it, and then we want it to open and close. So it's almost like, I think of it like a lotus blossom, and it comes and it closes down and it opens and it closes down. But if we want to, we can open it and open it even more. But in this video, what we're talking about is it being blocked, it being shut. And I will also talk about it being overly open, because I don't think people think enough about that. And particularly with the heart chakra, that can be problematic. So if we first of all think about what balance would look like. Balance looks like healthy circulation, healthy heart, healthy discourse of love, that we are open to love and that we are open to people loving us and we're able to receive love. And that's so easy to say, but as we get older and we experience trauma and grief and loss, that obviously affects the chakra and how it wants to work. If we're thinking about it being overly open, we can often be these people that just give way too much, so exhausting. Particularly, I can give an example that I have been caring for my husband who has had cancer, and it would be wrong for me to say I have to give less, right? So all of my energy for 18 months has just been poured on to my husband and my son, getting them through this. And so my heart chakra was way open, and in a way that was correct. But when we've come to the end of it, now I need to go, but that's not balance. You can't just be sending out caring energy into the universe all of the time. You've got to be in a situation where you let people love you back. So open, it can be that way. It can also be crying and crying and crying and crying, can really open it too far. But blocked would be, I have been betrayed. I don't trust you. I'm frightened to be loved. I'm frightened of people touching me. The world has just done something to me that I've pulled my etheric bodies in, and now this is so tight it cannot vitalize the physical body. I cannot have emotional and mental flow in the way that I want. So let's put a slide up for you to screenshot, and with a synopsis of that, and then we'll go into physical. Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance to screenshot and look at the slide. So physical effects then. Well, here we will definitely feel tightness or pain in the chest, as if you can't quite get your... And I really recommend spending time meditating with breathing for this center. So if we kind of imagine the energy just kind of going down through our throat into the heart chakra, it's quite easy because it's a straightforward route, and just imagine it kind of filling with energy, opening and closing, opening and closing. So what you'll find is the heart chakra can often be problematic if somebody has issues like asthma, COPD, emphysema, so any of those kind of breathing issues. And I would always pick, although it's not really a heart chakra oil, I would always say have a little go at getting them to do inhalation work with frankincense or with Monada essential oils for this sort of breathing of not being able to catch your breath. So that would be the first thing. What you'll also find is sometimes the chakra will be misaligned, and I'm currently working on a piece of work called the Sensorium Approach, which you'll be able to get soon, which explains to you how you move it back into the right space and how you actually gauge, well, is it working to 100%? Now, what you'll find is 100% is different for other people, and also you'll find that some people will never get to 100%. So for example, if somebody has had a massive stereotyping here, but if somebody's had a really harsh childhood where they've never really had their needs responded to, then they cried, no food came, no love came. First of all, you're going to see tremendous problems in the root chakra, and when that happens, the energy never really accumulates fully up to the heart chakra. So somebody's like 100% might not actually be 100%, it might be like 70%. And again, in the Sensorium Approach, I'll show you how you gauge exactly what that is. But just simple breathing exercises of kind of just trying to fuel this area with as much sort of, I always say that frankincense, it expands the tissue, so it slows the breath, but it restores elasticity. So we kind of get this open and close and open and close that's much more reliable. So that would be the first thing. But also, and again, if this is happening, you need to be at the doctor's. You're not just like focusing on these essential oils, but these essential oils can really help, but please go to the doctor's. Heart palpitations and blood pressure issues, I would always go for ylang ylang essential oil, or a mix over a couple of days of ylang ylang and clary sage essential oil. So it's very good to wear like an aroma pendant and just to be able to inhale these. But the reason why I use two is because ylang ylang is really, really good at this, but it also is quite nauseating and it can give you a headache if you've been using it for too long. So if you want to kind of continue with the medicine, clary sage is really good. And we do have scientific evidence to support how ylang ylang can reduce blood pressure, soothe palpitations. It actually affects how the different heartbeats work, but also how it can just help palpitations generally. However, this proof only applies to men. That's so, but it doesn't. But it also works on women. But the proof is the scientific paper only talks about men. But we do have this. So what I would suggest is just like one drop on an aroma pendant, and you'll really see how that kind of soothes the area of the flow of the heart chakra and works upon the blood pressure and the palpitations. And ylang ylang is really good at harmonizing energy. If it were to have like a watchword, a theme, I would always say it's about balance. And so that's what we want, isn't it? Open and close and open and close. So that would be really good. The main oil that we tend to use for the heart chakra though is rose. Rose is so good, and we'll talk about that on the emotional side. Very good for grief, and we'll talk about that separately, but it's very good for your circulation and for your hormones generally. You may find that it's easier to have an open heart chakra when you are ovulating and also in the first week of your period, because the estrogen affects whether you worry and how angry you are. So the more angry you are, the harder it is to feel love out into the community, right? I will be putting up or reissuing a meditation that I have done in the past called Rose Benediction. I think it sits really well this week. It's got like 16,000 views on it anyway, but it's tremendous if you find that you just want to calm down and have some feelings of inner peace and sort of give your your heart chakra some love. It's just beautiful to meditate with rose, but rose is really good for the circulation generally. The other things that you might find that you have issues with are shoulder, upper back and arm tension, because it's supposed to be fueling all of this energy, right? So it's worth just kind of having a poke about, where does it hurt? Where does it hurt? Now, remember that chakras can move, and not can move, they do. They move a lot. And so often they'll be pulled off center. And as I say, in the Sensorium Approach, I'll teach you how to put them back and how to isolate exactly where they are. But one of the things, there's two main things that will move them. First of all, extreme emotions. And of course, extreme emotions is absolutely the heart chakra thing. But also, muscular tension can move the energy over in the body. So if we just have a poke about, well, where does it hurt? And you don't really have to explain, well, why there it hurts there. Potentially it's an acupressure point, right? But just use your little bit of oil, whether you go for rose or frankincense or whatever you think fits for what you're doing, and just kind of, okay, I'm just going to work with that little energy spot there and just relieve out the muscles a little bit so they soften. If you've got real tender shoulder muscles, a bit of lavender is fantastic. So while it's not actually a heart chakra oil, we wouldn't say that it's working on the heart chakra. What you're doing is supporting the physical body around the heart chakra. We have this lovely holistic approach where everything works in unison to bring the flow of energy through the aura, through into the physical body. We want to have this flow backwards and forwards, so we feel good enough to be able to love, to receive love, but also not just like this interpersonal thing between one or two people, but we want to be able to flow energy out into the much wider world, projecting love out, because there's not enough love in the world right now, people. The other thing that we might see in the physical body is immune system weakness. So I was just poking about and I can feel pain here. This is really local to where the lymphatic system enters into the subclavian. It's actually here. So there's my clavicle. So the lymphatic system empties into the subclavian here and also into the groin. But often, if you've got sort of fluid build-up, this can be really quite painful here. So the oils that I would recommend to use for that would be fennel and juniper. And so there is my painful spot. So I would just use a little bit of fennel, a bit of lavender, and also juniper, lavender and juniper on your neck. Just beautiful. So just take care of this area. You might not be able to afford to go and see a massage therapist. Well, that's okay. Just do a little bit. If you can go and see a massage therapist, you definitely should be really reducing these areas. So I'm going to put a slide up now so you can see the different oils that I've mentioned, the maximum dilutions that you should be using, and also the safety. So any drugs that you shouldn't be using with any kind of medical conditions. And then we'll go on to the emotional effects. So the number one oil that you want to be picking for the heart chakra is rose essential oil. If you can't afford rose, or incidentally rose absolute, also excellent. But if you can't afford rose, and let's be honest, most of us can't usually, then geranium essential oil can be absolutely fantastic. There are areas where geranium would be better, and so I will talk about that as we go. But on all levels of the heart chakra, rose, 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 rose. And it's not accidental that the rose is the universal symbol of love, and that this is the center of love. Self-love, love for one's family, love for one's partner, love for one's children, love for the community at large, love of God. All of those things will come through this chakra. And incidentally, we will often talk about how energy flows up through the ground, up through the root chakra. So root, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, brow, crown. But if you learn it from a tantric point of view, they say, yeah, that's right, but also coming down. So crown, information from God, from the greater universe, through the crown, through the brow chakra, through the third eye, through the throat, and down to the ground. But the two sets of energies meet at the heart, and so that we have this harmony of energies coming up from the earth and down from consciousness. And you know, this is a funny situation, because think about how as a community we have learnt to pray. So if you're Christian, everything, you're imagining him up there and it's all male energy coming down. If you're pagan, chances are you pull energy up from the earth, and it's probably female energy. So what we've got, if we can do both of those things, is harmony. But if we're only doing one and we're not really thinking about, okay, I've got to balance off, Tantra always says one thing has to be balanced by the other. So we're bringing energy up from the ground and down from consciousness. All of these meet at the heart. So obviously, if we are like reading consciousness all of the time, and the more that you work on your psychic abilities and your spiritual awareness, the more that you will read that. But we can't help but read it all of the time, because we have this onslaught from the media all of the time of saying there are these atrocities happening, there is this cruelty happening, there is this... I can't watch the telly without thinking I don't trust anything that I read in the media at all. I just don't trust anything. Doesn't care if it says BBC verified. Now trust is heart chakra, right? So as community in this time, this age, all of us are having actual attacks on our heart chakra at all times. So we need to be breathing and thinking about, right, actively thinking about breathing into this heart chakra and seeing it open and close, open and close, open and close, because otherwise all you're getting is this beating that's closing it, right, all of the time. So eventually it's going to lock. So rose is really good for doing that, but also the breathing, the two things together are really, really important. But if we just kind of, you might want to use some rose essential oil on your heart chakra, and I will talk about heart chakra massage at the end, incidentally. But you might want to anoint the area. You might want to use your aromatherapy to breathe it, or if you can afford it, put it in the bath. I sure of hell can't afford it, but I tend to put a drop of geranium into the bath almost every night, actually. And then I have like a lotion that I put onto my body, which is rose. So I soak up this healing medicine all through the night. And potentially that's might be why I have this lovely skin. I'm fully aware that I have good skin, and several people have commented on it, and I will say maybe it's all the rose oil, thinking about it. But what we want to be thinking about is, am I able to give, and am I give love and receive love? And how do I feel about love in the universe at the moment, or my personal universe? So that would be like in the family and what have you. So if it's shut down, we've talked about how it's open. I won't mention that again. Like, just like this complete flow of energy into the world, which is often correct for a carer, but it's really helpful to teach somebody. But also, let's close that down so that tomorrow you can do it again, but let's have elasticity so that we can open and close. It's not just this all outpouring. Likewise, you might have people who, I've got to save the planet. I mean, I said it in that voice. It's a real thing, right? You know, and I think I see it a lot in people who are sort of in their late 20s that have this. They're pained by how much they've got to do. They're panicked by their overall responsibility to do something to save the planet, and they are both right but also misguided that it's their personal mission, that the whole world relies on them. I also think that that can be like a soul contracts thing. We have been doing quite a lot of work with that in Sacred Dance and Blue Lotus. These priestesses, I think probably from my lineage of Demeter, who we were looking after the earth. I think that this raising of bee consciousness, the Melissa priestesses, is probably pouring through a lot of these young women, and probably men as well, of this absolute terror for Mother Earth. That feels like the same thing to me, and maybe that's like a soul consciousness thing. But I think that, so that needs healing separately, but also to know that that is being executed through the heart chakra, and that we can kind of close it down so it's a bit, they feel a bit less vulnerable and bit less driven and panicked by this personal mission to save the planet. But also, so that would be open, and it, of course you can like see it spinning out through many different ways when you start thinking about how that would execute. But also the closed would be, well, I'm not doing it anymore. So maybe you've been in a relationship where somebody's really abused you, or you have been in a situation where somebody has betrayed you, or like I say, you just can't trust. You know, I can trust people in my day-to-day life, but I don't trust the media at all. So these things have many different facets, right? So I would say difficulty of giving and receiving love, but also maybe relational disconnection from your community. Actually, there's kind of another chakra that further out. So here's your heart chakra, but there's one that I call chakra 15 here, which is more of a communal aspect of love. That this is much further out. But remember how I said that the chakras kind of go out like that through your aura. So by very nature, what you've got is almost like a pyramid inside of a pyramid. So the things that are going wrong on this like communal one can be executed through. So on a more like bigger scale, we can work specifically on chakra 15 if we need to, but actually working on this chakra also will work on that one. So like I say, this one's communal. So perhaps you have been ripped from your home country or trafficked. You know, these seem like really strong extreme examples, and they are, but they are happening all over the world. So those problems we would see. But on a personal level, you'll see fear of intimacy and vulnerability, not trusting your family, grief, unresolved heartbreak. I mean, how many of us have kind of had heartbreak and just not processed? No, we've just had to keep going and going and going. And usually through the heart chakra, it probably is romantic love or maybe sexual love, but sexual love just as often will show up in the sacral chakra. And maybe it's familial love, but again, that might show up in the root chakra. And know that if one is over projecting out into the universe, another one will be under projecting, so, and vice versa. So if you have an underactive chakra and it's blocked, then another one's going, but I've got to work and do it, I've got to do it, so it will be open, right? So trying to get this balance is quite intricate, and we can certainly do it by doing the daily thing of, right, I'm going to meditate and I'm going to open this chakra, and I'm going to open this chakra, and I'm going to open that chakra. See your colors. Intention is the strongest power in the universe, right? So a lot of things that you can do will be done with your mind. You can back that up phenomenally with essential oils, but it's the intention in the mind that, and the breathing, that are the main keystones here. But just kind of seeing them in the right place and pouring energy into them in the right place and breathing into them into the right place, all really helpful. And I cannot stress enough that this work with chakras is very similar to aromatherapy generally, in that a little often is way more potent than doing one great big one and walking away and not doing it again. You're not going to make any difference doing it once. So do small amounts often. And I would say to do like a chakra meditation where we see the different lights in space at the right places, once or twice a day. If you can be doing some breath work with it, that is fantastic. For me, I work on my chakras 3 times a day. I do it in the morning, I do it in the at lunchtime, and I do it in the evening. And the reason for that is because it makes me feel better. I feel more vitalized. I feel like I'm having some control over my health, because I do have really bad lungs, and at the moment they're not 100%, so they need work, and they're not at the point that they need antibiotics. There's definitely sort of energetic stuff that I won't go into, and also allergy stuff that I won't go into. But I know that if I am working with my essential oils, calming down my nerves, working on that space and going, this is your vulnerability, sort out the vulnerability, then it is much better. So I am going to talk next about physical effects, but I will put the screen on now for you to screenshot your safety. So we've talked about how there are kind of 2 chakras in one. We've got the heart chakra, but further through the etheric bodies, we also have chakra 15, which is about collective love. But we also have the knowledge that mostly this chakra will be working with the 4th etheric body, the emotional body. But as it passes through, it will also talk to the physical body. We've talked about that. We've talked about the body of will and the mental body. So it's passing through those, so necessarily it will have an effect on those. So the body of will is hard to understand, really, in that it's about ambition, and it's about motivation, and it's about drive. So that kind of feels like work, right? That's our career. But if you also think about, but the energy that's passing through it from the heart chakra will influence how we are motivated in what we do. So this affects how we think and how we speak and how we project ourselves in the world. If we are hurt, if we are distrusting, if we are cynical, then that of course projects into the body of will and the mental bodies. So we become very judgmental. We also become highly critical of other people. Potentially we are prejudiced, and we are intolerant at a social level, right? So, and of course, that makes total sense for somebody, for example, who is a refugee, who has been maybe one of the people that's coming in on the boats. Yeah, I wouldn't feel very kind to life at all either. I would be overcritical, judgmental, prejudiced, intolerant. That is natural, right? But, and also to a certain extent, that's safe. I think that is the other thing to like refer back to what I said to you earlier, that first of all, not everybody operates at 100% at all times. Nobody does at all times, right? That's where we're aiming for. But some people just don't have the capacity to have 100%. It might be the equivalent to my 90%, and it will stretch. But is it safe to be on a boat and be all loving and trusting of everybody in the world? No, it's really not. It's correct to have these things. So whilst we can take care of the energy in this area, we don't want to make it, let's love the world, because that puts us in danger, right? So being very careful that balance is balance for that person, the right balance for that person at that time. Other things, of course, lack of empathy and compassion. And if somebody suddenly turns very uncooperative with the rest of the world, they become like deliberately obtuse. That's one of my dad's words. Why are you being so obtuse? I would say, well, something else has happened in the background, and so we're looking at the heart chakra here, and also it will be third eye, but we'll get to that. But actually looking at, well, why have they suddenly become uncooperative? They might know. The chances are it's because you've done something to hurt them, right? That hurt suddenly affects their personality. But also somebody who has heart chakra will feel, and which came first, the chicken or the egg, but lonely and feeling like they're isolated. They are alienated from their family, maybe. Don't, you know, as people get old, it's hard for the rest of the family to always be there, and they're sitting on their own a lot and they're isolated. It's really important to make sure that people, you're not just like doing this healing work. The healing work as much holistically is about making sure, but is somebody going to visit them, perhaps putting them in connection with like age concern, or somebody who, or my mum goes to like a community lunch, and it makes all the difference in the world to have that connection, because connection is all about heart chakra. But somebody who has like a really closed off chakra it probably has come from they've been betrayed or hurt, and while it's shut, they can't leave it alone. They become overly obsessed by the betrayal or by the rejection, and of course then this is what I was talking about with it going through their mental bodies. So therefore they'll be like, you shouldn't trust them, you shouldn't trust, you know, this guy that you've met, you know, men are all pigs, you know, it will project through. So straight away you can say, okay, well, you know, at the heart of that, there's this tiny seed of pain. Can we do something about that pain? And it's all about Rose. I mean, we can do long lectures about it, but it is all about Rose. Rose is so good for this stuff. In the 15th century, the man he said that his mother-in-law had discovered rose oil when she had been making some rose water, and the rose water was the scum, had left a scum on the side of the jug, and he said it was her invention, and that it brings back withered souls. And I'm like, nearly 600 years later, to me, nobody's explained it any better than that it does bring back withered souls. It helps with problems with trust, with you know, if somebody's very distrusting, or they're not willing to even try and trust, you know, they're just like, no, I'm sorry, I've been there, I've been hurt, I just don't want to do it. It's very good at kind of, imagine how the rose unfurls and just relaxes into beauty. It's beautiful. And finally, people who have been abused quite often have this self-taught of being not worthy of being loved. You know, who would love you? You're useless. You know, nobody's going to want you. You're ugly. All of that really attacks this part of the body. And just to be clear, think about how that might play out with somebody who has eczema, for example. You're so ugly, you're not worthy of being loved, and all of this plays out. The skin is how is like our expression of ourselves into the outside world. So this worthiness, healing this area of this distrust and this pain of being told that you're useless and not worthy of love, can have real huge effects on the whole body. So while we're talking about being heart chakra and circulation and breathing and stuff, definitely skin as well. You know, you'll see it playing out right through the body. So balance is all very, very important. I mentioned how sometimes I think that geranium is better than rose, and the reason for that is because if we think about like it from a different archetypical point of view, we can say that this is like the love archetype, and from my point of view as a Melissa, and therefore somebody who thinks about things from a Greek point of view, we're Hellenists, love is Venus. And Venus, and remember Venus is veins, circulation, as well as the planet Venus and the goddess Venus. The goddess Venus is about wealth and beauty. And I think that the stress that you get with money, and you know, you start to be like, panic is just as much heart chakra as anything else. So good. Geranium is so good for money. So I always say put a couple of drops in your bath and you feel money worries going away. And you might say, well, what's that got to do with heart chakra and love? Well, it's almost impossible to be loving towards somebody else and generous when you are worried about you're not having enough for yourself. And geranium says, but you have got enough. In fact, you've probably got more than enough. It's a really amazing medicine from that point of view. It's a support to the adrenals. So very good for long-term stress generally. Excellent for the skin. Fantastic for things like eczema. It would be my first port of call for dry skin, itchy skin. Any of those things, as well as fungal infections, incidentally. Thrush and stuff like that, which aren't necessarily heart chakra things, but if you think about how your body might keep producing reactions to sex, if you are frightened of having sex and frightened that you are going to be betrayed, your body keeps going, I don't want to go there. Not a heart chakra thing, but definitely connected to heart chakra. So those kind of recurrent fungal infections, cystitis, thrush, I would also always look and go, yep, definitely sacral chakra. But what's the heart chakra doing? Is it like, does it keep kind of being elastic and going, no, don't do that. I'm not healed. I don't want you to let somebody else in. I don't want to have sex because I'm not ready yet. Okay, we need to look at that. So yeah, that is, I think, a good synopsis of heart chakra medicine. Over the week, have a look at my playlists, because I'm going to do lots of things about heart chakra medicine. I've done a much longer one with Adam Barrelay where we're talking about the spiritual aspects, and also look for my meditations. I'll do one, I'll put the rose meditation back on for you because of course it's the center of the universe where love's concerned, and I'll put a couple of other ones. We'll call it Aromatherapy, breathing with just the story but also the oil. So there we go, physical effects of a blocked heart chakra. Remember, open chakra just as problematic. And keep a lookout for the Sensorium Approach coming out, because this will really help to hone every aspect that you want to of the chakras. between you and I'm going off to Greece to teach for a couple of weeks, and so it's not going to come out as fast as I wanted it to. But if you have a look in the description, there is a mailing list, a wait list, so that as soon as it comes out I can say it's here, you can get it now. I think you'll really love it. So, long video, thank you for watching. I'll do the quick slide, and then I'll quickly show you how to do a heart chakra meditation massage. I've sat up higher, but I'm still not high enough, so we'll see if I can do this. So your heart chakra is going to be here, right? And remember that we're also interested in chakra 15, which is in the 5th etheric body. So if you rub your hands together like this, and then just to feel the tingles, and you'll be able to go, I can feel the edge of my aura. And then if you tell your brain you can do it, you can do it. If you don't believe it, you won't be able to do it. So then you go, right, so where's 6? Well, I can feel 6. Where's 5? 5, good. I don't know why I always do it at the side, but it's easier. So then kind of go around and go, where's the edge of 5 at the front? Yeah, so there's 5 for me. So this is where chakra 15 is, and 1, 2, 3, and yeah, so they're quite close together on me today. It's not always the case. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our fingers into the chakra energy. Now I'm pointing at you, but you're going to want to be pointing back at yourself, right? Because you want to go into the wheel, but you can't see if I do. And remember that chakras go in a clockwise position, situation, rotation. And we're going to want to very gently go, no, I'm disturbing the energy, so I'm going backwards. So facing inwards, I'm going to go to 4. And then we're going to very carefully. Now, this is what happens. You'll find that you have a trigger that your body goes, that's not what's supposed to happen, right? So for me, it's always coughing. On other chakras, it will be like I go, let's get rid of these. And I gasp. But you'll notice that your body goes, no, that's not right. So coming in, straight away, my body's going, no, stop it, stop it. All we want to do is disturb the energy enough so when it kind of flicks back into going right, your body goes, oh, that's better. Because you want it to get it to feel, this is where I'm focusing my intention. All it does is like disturbing the energy, the body goes, oh, everything here. I've got to heal everything here. It's a bit like when you cut yourself and your body goes, oh, we sent all of the healing here. And it switches off other mechanisms, so like blood sugar, for example, so that it can sort all of that out. That's what we're doing. So we're going to go very carefully, and it's only like 3, 4, 5 strokes. You'll be able to tell. 1, you can feel it already. 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's all we're doing. So we're going to put a little bit of rose on our fingers, and we're just going to stroke it that way. And like I say, I do it 3 times a day so that my body gets used to. But I want you to send energy here, because of course on your body's only really doing the internal stuff. So you want to be dealing with the external stuff as well. Another thing that you can do is to make a little spray, and I do intend to do a video of this, but I just don't have time at the moment. But to make a spray for your auric field, and you can do one like for the whole aura if you want to, but I find it effective to go, right, this is my rose spray, and I put a little frankincense and ylang ylang because that's kind of my blend, and this is for my 4th etheric body, and I spritz it round. And remember, intention, intention, intention. It's just gone with a power cut. I'll keep going. That's spooky. And just cleanse your aura off. And and just daily. In fact, if you do the meditations with me, the aromatherapy ones, I teach you how to just like seal down your aura, but just daily sort of say, right, I want you to be working open and closed, open and closed, open and closed. Don't be too open, don't be too closed. Balance, balance, balance. And so there we have it. That is the chakra massage for the heart chakra.